2 years ago, I released my first ever free plugin on my Ko-fi page called VRoid Facial Expression Pack. And to this day, it's still my most downloaded plugin at almost 3,000 downloads. But it has a lot of issues. One, it was made using VRoid Studio Beta, which means its model have incompatible blend shapes with the current VRoid Studio version. Two, it was made mostly for Unity game development, which makes it quite difficult for VTubing. But that's going to change today, because I just spent the last month creating a way for you to implement all of these expressions into your VRoid model with just a few clicks. Not only that, this updated pack has 29 eye expressions, 19 mouth expressions, and 4 texture variations, with more expressions will be added in the future. Once you put your model through this tool, you will be able to mix and match different expressions right in VSeeFace. So, how do we use this free tool? The first step is to get the expression pack itself. Go to the link in the description below to open my Ko-fi page or my Patreon store page. After the checkout, download both of the zip files included in the list and then extract both zip files into a folder. At this point, you should have 2 files in your computer, the VSeeFace SDK template project and the expression pack package file. Let's open this Unity template project folder in Unity Hub. If you don't have the correct Unity version installed, Unity Hub will help you install it right now. Do not proceed with the wrong Unity version or else some plugins will not work. Once Unity installation is done, you can just click the project name to open it. As you can see, this is a very bare-bone project, with only the correct UniVRM and VSeeFace SDK installed on it. So the first thing we need to do is to import in our VRoid character. On your VRoid Studio export page, make sure that the Delete Transparent Meshes option is unchecked and your VRoid character is exported as a VRM0 model. Otherwise, your model won't work with this plugin. Let's create a model folder in the project window and drag in our VRM file into the model folder. This will automatically convert the VRM file into a prefab file, which is this blue icon file. Drag it into the hierarchy window so the model can appear in the scene window. Now, to install the expression pack itself, we just need to right-click on the Assets folder, Import Package, Custom Package. Find the expression pack package file we downloaded earlier and open it. Make sure to select all and click Import. You should now be able to see ReForge mode menu added on top of your Unity window, which means the installation is complete. Open this menu and choose Expression Pack Setup, and a new window called Expression Pack is now open. This is where we'll add new expressions into your model. To get started, let's drag in your VRoid model prefab from the hierarchy window into this target model field. If you put any invalid objects into this field, this plugin will warn you and will prevent you from making any errors. This is just how I love to make my tools very beginner-friendly. Let's proceed by clicking the Next Step button. This window will automatically expand into a bigger window. I recommend placing this window on the right side of your screen where you can compare your character's expression in the scene window with the reference image in this window. The goal here is to match your model's expression as close as possible to the reference image. Keep in mind that the current expression on display is Eye Angry 1, so right now we're only looking to match our character's eyes. We don't care about the mouth shapes right now. We can do that by adjusting some sliders. Let's start with the blend shape adjustment sliders first. For this model, I noticed that the eyebrows of our character are a little bit too close to the eyes, so we can adjust the brow down sliders of each eye to lift the eyebrow up. We can also adjust the eyelids itself to make it more angry, or the angle of the brow. Additionally, we might want to add some modifications in the optional blend shape sliders. For example, the brow of the reference character is straight, which makes it appear more angry, where our character's brows are curved. To fix that, we can use the brow inner up slider to better match the reference. Different models need different combinations and values of sliders. You may not need all of these sliders, but it's there if you want to experiment with it. Keep in mind that you are also free to try to make something different using the sliders if it matches your character's personality better than the reference image. Additionally, you can choose to rename the current expression if you want it to appear with a different name, or you can add wider degrees of freedoms by extending the slider range. If you ever messed up, feel free to press Reset this expression to default to undo those changes. When you're finished with this expression, just click Next Expression to move on to the next one. Rinse and repeat for every expression. There are also these two buttons on the bottom which can be helpful. The Refocus button helps you if you accidentally move your scene window to look at other objects. It will recenter your character's face in the scene window. The other button is the Hide Hair button, which can be useful if your character's hair hides your character's eyes and eyebrows from view. Once you finally reach the last expression, you can press the Next Step button to move on to the next page. This next page is about changing your character's face texture on different expressions. You have two options for every expression available here. You can either choose from a small list of textures in the drop-down menu, or put in your own custom texture. In this same pack, I included a Photoshop template file if you want to create your own custom texture. When you save your custom textures in Photoshop, make sure that you keep the whole image transparent by disabling the base image and then saving the image as a PNG file. Back in Unity, to use your custom texture, drag the PNG file into the Assets folder in the project window, set the texture drop-down menu to Custom Texture, and then drag the file into the Custom Texture field. Once you're done, move on to the next expression, rinse and repeat. Then press the Next Step button again to finish the setup process. Now, to export this model to VSeeFace, we don't use the usual UniVRM export option. This time around, we're going to use VSF SDK instead. VSeeFace SDK is a very powerful tool that allows your VRoid model to use nearly everything in Unity, including custom shaders, animations, and particle effects. The only downside is that your exported model is in a very specific VSeeFace file type called VSF Avatar instead of the usual VRM file. That means it can't be used on other VTubing applications. To do this, in the hierarchy window, we first select the character we want to export. Then, on the top side of the screen, go to VSF SDK menu and choose Export Avatar Bundle. And wait for the process to finish. To open this model in VSeeFace, we can load this VSF avatar file as usual, and voila! The model now shows up without any issues. To access the custom expression, we can open Settings, Expression Settings. This will display every expression that exists in this model. We can set different hotkeys for different expressions and press the corresponding button to show that expression. This also confirms that all expressions are applied correctly into our model, including the blush, sick, and shade expression. A quick tip to use both the eyes and mouth expression in VSeeFace is to set the eyes expression hotkeys to letters and the mouth expression hotkeys to numbers. This will allow you to mix and match different expressions for different occasions, like maybe Z5, B7, or M9. And if you ever run out of keys, you can also use a combination of Ctrl, Alt, and Shift to add more hotkeys. Oh, and you can also try to disable the Enable Mouth Tracking option on the mouth expressions and Enable Eye Blinking option on the eye expressions to prevent your eye and mouth tracking from overlapping with the current active expressions. And that's pretty much everything you need to know for using this expression pack. Once again, this expression pack is totally free and you will get free future updates. If you'd like to support me making more of these free tutorials and free tools, you can help me financially by purchasing my tools or by supporting me on Patreon, where you'll get a backlog of early access videos, sneak peeks, and exclusive video tutorials, along with my special thanks at the end of the video. If you want to see more of my tutorials and free tools, consider subscribing and ring the bell so you won't miss out on any future videos. While you're here, why don't you check out my previous tutorial where I show you how to resize your character's chest size in VSeeFace. And with that, I think I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.